Everybody, Jimmy Smith for fightpicks.com. I did this before, and apparently it didn't record properly, so I have to do it all over again. These are my fight picks for Fight Night, Overeem versus Oleinik. I did a miserable job last week with my picks, so I can't do a whole lot worse. So sign up at fightpicks.com, use a promo code Jimmy Smith, and you'll probably destroy me last week. That's the opportunity you get, is there are those weeks where I do horribly and you can beat me. So this week, Overeem versus Oleinik in Russia. What I see when I look at this card are a lot of fighters who are from Eastern Europe, Russian, on the home soil, looking to make an impression. All right, so guys are motivated to fight very, very hard and kind of, get that big push from the UFC, get everybody to know who they are, kind of move up the ranks. So a lot of very tough Russians on this card, understandably. So the way my picks went, let's start with Christoph Jaco versus Alan Madoski. Madoski making his UFC debut, fought in Bellator, 8-0, undefeated, a very quick finisher. 8 wins, all of them by knockout or TKO. He's only had 2 go to the second round. This is a quick finish guy. Jaco is a UFC veteran, but has lost his last 3 and is basically fighting for his future in the promotion. So to me, this comes down to the veteran guy who's backed against the wall, but has UFC experience, versus the newcomer who's a fast finisher. Now, the last 2 times he's been out, Jaco has been finished. So it's one of those things where Madoski, I think, is in a position to really do a great job with his UFC debut against a guy who's been finished his last 2, get the big finish, and really introduce himself to the UFC fans. He's opening up the televised portion of the card, big opportunity for him. Jaco, though, the veteran, I think it goes to the newcomer, Madoski. I think they're bringing him in for a reason. They think he's exciting. They think he's a fast finisher against a guy who's really on his last legs in the UFC if he doesn't get this done. So my pick is Madoski, first round KO. That's how he generally gets it done. The next one, Roxanne Modafferi versus Antonina Shevchenko. I was back and forth on this one. Modafferi's a veteran, had a lot of fights, extremely versatile. There's a lot she can do. Where she has trouble is when a fighter goes in and kind of makes it a brawl and goes at her and makes it about the physicality and strength. She's not good with that kind of a fight. We saw that her last time out against Sijara Eubanks. And Eubanks just got right in her face and made it about power punches. And that's not really Modafferi's game. But that's not Shevchenko's game either. She's more of an outside striker, more of a technician, but isn't the kind to get in your face and really make it a war. Also, 7-0, undefeated, but she tends to go to decision a lot. That's not rare for this weight class. So she's not exactly a step-in kind of power puncher or kicker. So Shevchenko doesn't have the miles on her that Modafferi has. 34 versus 36, so neither one's young. Modafferi has the experience edge, and stylistically, it's kind of her kind of fight. And this isn't somebody who's going to knock her on her heels and make her fight defensively the whole time. So, tough pick, but I'm going Modafferi by decision. I think she changes up her style, goes for a lot more takedowns, and kind of keeps Shevchenko guessing, and she ends up winning a decision. That's my pick. Ivan, I'm going to try with this name. Shtirikov versus Devin Clark. Shtirikov, 15-0-1. The dude is an absolute monster, undefeated, physical beast. Devin Clark hasn't really found his legs in the UFC yet. What that says to me is kind of a setup fight. Like, okay, you're 15-0-1. No big names on his resume except Thiago Santos and Fabio Maldonado. Not a great name, but a name. Thiago Silva. Not Thiago Santos, totally different guy. Thiago Silva was the last win for Shtirikov. Devin Clark, 9-3, but 3-3 in the UFC, and every time he's lost, he's been blown out. 2 knockouts and a rear naked choke loss. Tends to lose early. The 2 knockouts were in the losses were in the first round. When he wins, it's by decision. So this is a guy, when he wins, it's by decision. When he loses, it tends to be in spectacular fashion. So if you're going to see how Ivan looks, this is a great guy to give him. If he does win, he probably gets a spectacular finish, and he gets it early. That's my pick. I think Shtirikov by KO or TKO in the first round over Devin Clark. Sergey Pavlovich versus Marcelo Gom. Another fight where it's an up-and-coming Russian who had a stumble in his last fight against Alistair Overeem, against a tough Brazilian who hasn't quite found his legs in the UFC. Certainly not a physical talent, but Marcelo Gomes 6-2. Last 2 of them are decision losses. I think that trend continues. I have Pavlovich by decision over Gomes. I think Pavlovich, hometown, he's coming off a loss, but he's trying to get it back on track. A big guy, very, very strong. He wins by decision over Marcelo Gomes. Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Doing what I can with the names. Hasn't fought in the UFC, so I haven't seen him yet. I'm going with Makhachev simply because he's the UFC veteran. 16-1, has a great record. Hasn't lost since 2015. He's on a 4-win streak. He's just kind of getting his legs under him in the UFC. He's kind of feeling himself. Last 2 fights, a submission and a knockout, so he knows what he's doing. Tsarukyan, making his UFC debut, 13-1, impressive record. Hasn't lost in a long time, also since 2015. On a streak, but no real names there. We don't know really what we're getting. So it's Makhachev, I think, the veteran. He gets a finish by submission. He's a submission guy in the second round. So up against a tough kid, you might have to ride out the storm in the first round. Then the more experienced guy takes over. Submission, second round. Alistair Overeem, Alexei Oleinik, 2 guys who know each other very, very well. What concerns me about Alexei Oleinik is he goes for that Ezekiel choke everywhere, from any position he can get. He'll pull guard, he'll pull half guard, he does whatever it takes to get the fight to the ground. Alistair Overeem, we know him as the Demolition Man, great striker, really great submission game. He hasn't been submitted since 2006 by Verdum in Pride. He got Kimura in that fight. Very hard to submit. He has an underrated submission game of his own. What I think happens is Overeem plays it very, very safe against a guy he knows well, low in his stance, uses a lot of punches to kind of keep Alexei Oleinik at a distance, pick him apart, not throw a lot of kicks, not give him anything to grab and take down. A lot of punches, low stance, could be a boring fight. He wins by decision. So my pick for the main event, Alistair Overeem by decision. So, Madoski, KO or TKO in the first round. Roxanne Modafferi over Shevchenko by decision. Ivan over Devin Clark. KO or TKO in the first round. Pavlovich over Gomes by decision. Makhachev by submission in the second round. And Alistair Overeem over Alexei Oleinik by decision. Those are my picks. Once again, fightpicks.com. Sign up with the promo code jimmysmith, all one word, lowercase or uppercase, and see how you do. See ya.